know, the Mark 18 sure is great. In fact, I think it's probably the best close quarters rifle ever made. Let's talk about the military's Mark 18. Welcome back, everybody. Clint today with Classic Firearms, here to talk about the best gun ever made. Your answer to all of your CQB problems. Oh, the Mark 18. The Daniel Defense Mark 18, chambered in 5.56 with that 10.3-inch barrel, is the epitome of perfection. Okay, I can only keep up the charade for so long. Look, it's not perfect, all right? If you've been around the channel for any length of time, I've been with Classic for 6 years, 5 years in this role, talking to you guys in front of the camera. I get made fun of all the time in the comment section because of how much I talk about the Mark 18 and how perfect it is. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here to burst all y'all's bubbles. I actually don't think it's perfect. I actually don't think it's the best gun ever made. But at one point in time, in the year 2000, when the Mark 18 entered service, it was the answer to the Navy's CQB problem. Now, we all know and love the M16, right? This is pretty much what I'm issued right here in the Marine Reserves, the M16A4. Yes, with the Ontario Knife Company, the 3S, the OKC 3S bayonet. I love this thing. Unfortunately, Ontario Knife Company, I think they went out of business this year. So Marines, if you can find them, I recommend you keep them. That doesn't mean steal them from the armory. Just Staff Sergeant says. Anyway, the 20-inch M16, which just screams G-Watt and Fallujah, isn't ideal for close quarters. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Believe me, we've been doing it for quite some time. But there were better options out there, like the M4, for instance, which has a little bit shorter barrel, obviously still chambered in 5.56, as most of us know. But this guy, this being specifically the M4A1 by Daniel Defense, the R3, 14.5-inch barrel. So we dropped it from 20 to 14.5. Great, but still, if you think about boarding ships, if you think about room clearing, things like that, especially in tight quarters, think about how narrow the thresholds and doorways are on a boat. You can imagine you'd probably want something a little bit shorter even still. And though the M4 is a great option, wasn't ideal. But one really neat thing about the M4 and M16 is the fact that you can swap upper receivers and make ultimately one gun mini out of one mini. And thus we got, again in the year 2000, the Mark 18 entered service. But there are some setbacks. Because they had to cut the barrel so short, they had to open up that gas port from 1.6 millimeters to 1.8 millimeters, which makes it a pretty gassy gun, but it is overall a very reliable gun. The only problem with it being that gassy, though, is an increased wear on parts. And if you're unfamiliar with how the direct impingement gas system works of the M4 or M16, I'll break it down for you really, really fast. Once the trigger is pulled, bang, now all of a sudden that bullet is being forced down the barrel and out the muzzle or suppressor from all these pressures and gases that are being built up from that small explosion that just took place. Well, traveling down the barrel, those gases then come across a small opening in the top of the barrel known as the gas port, which leads into the gas block, which then leads the gas down a gas tube back into the chamber and ultimately back into the bolt carrier, which you see right there. Okay? Now, a lot of people will say this system, direct impingement, is ultimately shitting where you eat. And for the AR, M4, M16, Mark 18, Mark 12, all the ones that use this system, that's accurate. But it is reliable. Might be dirty, but it is reliable. And we see that quite a bit. Now, something else you'll notice too is I've shot this gun a lot on this channel. I know, big surprise there, right? With the Surefire RC2, the SOCOM 5.56 silencer, which is great, but I wanted something with a little bit less back pressure and ultimately had that flow through technology like what Huxworks has come up with. Notice all that ventilation right at the front there. Nice feature to have where you have more gases escaping out the front of the gun instead of coming back into the gun. Should help it shoot a little bit more reliably and a little bit cleaner after extended use, right? Great. But The M855, the 62 grain green tip, as we all have come to call it, is a decent enough cartridge, gets the job done. But 5.56 in general, especially when it was first introduced as of a 55 grain, was designed to be shot out of a 20 to 24 inch barrel. You've pretty much cut that now over half in a 10.3. Is it still effective and reliable? And I'm here to tell you, yes, it is. There are plenty of documented interviews and combat footage, I could even say, where the Mark 18 is being employed and effectively neutralizing targets. We'll just say that, all right? And it still is in use today even. And if you think about all the different entities that use this system, we're talking Coast Guard, again, which makes sense. NCIS actually was issued anytime they were in a, in country, in a combat zone, they were typically issued the Mark 18. Naval Special Warfare, Navy SEALs, the Marine Corps Special Operations Command, and a lot of law enforcement agencies also. There's usually their SRT or SWAT teams, Mark 18, which makes sense when you think about a lot of what law enforcement engagements are, usually close quarters, within a house, things like that. So having something a little bit shorter makes sense. Now, like I was talking about before, boarding ships. Think about carrying an M4 or dear God, an M16 up a ladder trying to board a boat, right? Shooting inside of a still room pretty much. You're gonna want something a little bit shorter and suppressed. And yes, like I said, it's still in service today. And is it, though, the best? I mean, technology has changed quite a bit since 1999, 2000. And now we have this thing called 300 blackout, which in close quarters is arguably, I actually don't think there's much argument whatsoever, is definitely preferred over 5.56. You can shoot it out of a shorter barrel, still get full powder burn at about 8.5, 9 inches, throw a suppressor on that, and now you've got a wonderful suppressor host. Will we shoot some 300 blackout today? Yeah, sure, I got some laying around, why not? So let's go ahead and head to the range. Let's go ahead and engage a couple of targets with this, talk about the shooting experience, and like I said, we've got plenty of footage of this gun being shot with the RC2, but we also want to see it shot with the Flow 5.56K and see if it really is that much better of a shooting experience. Let's go outside and take a look. All right, we're outside now, kitted up because, well, just like everybody else running the Mark 18, they'd probably be looking somewhat similar, just in better shape. But let's go ahead and shoot the very first shots here with the Huxworks Flow 5.56K, and let's see if I can notice any gas back into the face or anything. Well, one thing's for certain, you can tell just by the direction of the extracting brass, it's a gassy gun. But one thing that is really nice, especially being outdoors, I'm not getting a whole lot of gas back to the face. I'm not crying, I don't have a bunch of carbon in my mouth, which is pretty nice. So, overall, the gun feels great to shoot. And as you can imagine, of course, being a little bit more close range, or designed for close range, that is pretty much right at home for this gun. Let's go ahead and send a couple more rounds just so you guys can, well, see it in action, right? It's pretty spicy. Actually, let's do it unsuppressed so you can just see, get a feel for what it might be like unsuppressed. Now a little unsuppressed action. Yeah, it's a little bit louder. But ultimately, you guys get it. The Mark 18 for close quarters is awesome, but 5.56, like I mentioned, it loses its effectiveness pretty rapidly out of a 10.3 inch barrel, comparing that to what it was designed for, like I said, a 20 inch or even a 14.5. So is there something better than the Mark 18 today? Well, there was the MP5, but 9mm, just a little too anemic. And then along 300 blackout came. Let's go ahead and show that off. Now we're working with 300 blackout. This is ultimately a 7.62 NATO cartridge with a, I don't know, 5.56 casing. You take a little bit, see a little bit what that difference is. Much wider diameter here, just a larger projectile. And as you can imagine, for close quarters, that would be welcomed. let's go ahead and take a couple of shots here with the Flow 762 by Huxworks and see how this guy feels now. And probably help if I turn this on too so I can actually see what I'm aiming at. That'd be great. Awesome. All right, let's see here. Let's take a couple of shots. Listen to that harmonic ring from Shooting Targets USA. Pretty awesome stuff. Anyway, 300 blackout is awesome. The round is ultimately designed to be shot suppressed, and as you can imagine, for close quarters, it's gonna dominate where the Mark 18 fails with 5.56. But what's great about the Mark 18 is, again, just like this, well, what's great about the M4, the AR entire platform, is just how quick and easy it is to swap up receivers, which I did off camera because YouTube's kind of funny. But let me know what you guys think down below. The Mark 18, do you think it still has a place today in the modern world of weaponry when you have things like 300 blackout, like the Rattler, Honey Badger even, which is also direct impingement? Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's just obsolete? If you do, you're wrong. All right.